Hey guys, happy August. I am going to try and make this a short-ish WIP update. I'm actually waiting on a Skype call from my parents, and I'll talk about that in a second. And I also have lunch to eat, but I wanted to squeeze this in today. I didn't make a ton of progress this month. I actually struggled a little bit last month and right now. And that's because my parents are in Europe right now, which is awesome. They planned this amazing trip and I'm so happy for them, but it's made me kind of lonely. They've been gone for 2 weeks, just over 2 weeks, and they're going for 5 weeks in total, so 3 more weeks. This was the trip that they planned last year and they planned to go on last year, but that was right before my dad's cancer diagnosis, and so he was really sick over the time when they were supposed to be going, so they had to cancel a lot of stuff. And the reason it's so kind of joyous that they're there now is that I know my dad for sure thought he was never going to make it, just with the way he was feeling and how sick he was. So to think of them like over there is really special. But yeah, I've been super lonely, and because I've been lonely, I've been kind of in like a funk and just not stitching that much. I usually like being alone, or I mean, most of the time I like being alone. All the time I don't mind being alone. But I kind of miss talking to someone. Like, I talk to my mom a lot, and so that's something that has kind of caught up with me a little bit just in the last couple of weeks. Also, fun fact, you might remember from last month that I had a wedding to go to at the end of July, and I went to that and it was fun, but word to the wise, if you're already feeling kind of like lonely and, you know, like you're struggling a little bit, don't go to a wedding by yourself as a single lady and just see a whole bunch of like young couples and young families, because it's not going to help you, and it didn't help me. Anyways, oh yeah, and the other thing I wanted to say quickly, and I don't even know if this is relevant, but I figured I would be honest, is I've been feeling really detached from FlossTube, like the community. I feel like it's gotten really cliquey. And I don't know if that's just me, and that's an extension of the way that I'm feeling right now generally. That might be very true. But yeah, I just have felt like in this last month that, I don't know, something has changed. But I fully acknowledge that I'm really bad at Facebook. I don't post on Facebook really. And I'm also not super keen on stitch-alongs, like constant stitch-alongs. And those are kind of the main ways I think people are interacting in this community. So I fully acknowledge that it may just be me because I'm bad at those things. And also this has been kind of a downer month for me that I feel that way. But yeah, I don't know. Just, I probably shouldn't have even said anything. And maybe I won't put any of this in. But no, I probably will. I like to be honest. And that's just how I've been feeling this last month. So probably me. Maybe a tiny bit the community is changing, but it's probably mostly me. Okay, what should I start with? Oh, so I had mentioned in my transfer video about the water-soluble dissolvable paper that I was going to show you this little guy. This is my finished, I just realized I didn't put the lazy daisies around the border, but that's okay. This is my little bird guy from September House on Etsy. So I filled in his kind of collar with satin stitches, which came out okay, I think, for my first time. And I put in his little eyeball, and I filled in, the pear was all filled with chain stitch, which I never want to do again. It looks cool, I think, but yeah, that wasn't very fun. And you can see maybe there is still a tiny bit of residue, just because I do want to be 100% honest. There's still a little bit of residue, like if you look around the leaf here, there looks like just a little bit of like white fuzz. And I know that's from the paper, and I'm not sure how to get rid of all of that. I think part of it was this is my first time using it, and I was a little afraid of like really going for it when I was washing it off. So I rinsed it under the water, or my mom did, which you saw in that video. And then I ended up going back over with like the highest pressure setting that I had. So I just used my kitchen sink, but we have like a spray, you know, more like a shower setting. So I set it to that and blasted it and then did this again, and a lot more of it came off. But I think you can really, like, I was just nervous, but I think you can really get in and like really agitate it, because by nature of how it works, it's going to get caught up in like the more intricate bits of the design. So maybe like in future, I just have to get more comfortable with stitching less of the pattern originally and then just adding it in after the paper is off. Like the leaf, I did the whole, like the veining and everything, but a lot of paper got caught up in that because it's like a really tiny area. So I think maybe what I could do in the future is just do the outlines of everything and then just kind of like freestyle it, would be good advice. And I did go through with tweezers for some of it and pick out a little bit of the paper. So some of that might be me, like user error, and some of it is probably that there is no perfect solution for a transfer, I don't think, but I still do prefer this over the like pens, the disappearing ink and stuff. So yeah, that is my little bird finished, and this was the only embroidery that I did this month. Hold on. Those of you who are really familiar with my videos will know that wedding I talked about, I was going to embroider something for them, and that was totally the plan up until like 5 days before the wedding, when I totally freaked out and clammed up and was like, I can't do it. I'm not good enough at it. It's not gonna look good. You know, I'm better at stitching, so I should just stitch something. Which was fine, but it was kind of an 11th hour decision for me to make. So I did not do any other embroidery for my wedding present. I just realized I'm really washed out. Sorry guys, my light's a little funny. So I didn't do that embroidery. What I did instead was I got a pattern from Satsuma Street called Love and Life, Love plus Life, and I stitched that for them. I stitched it 1/1 because the pattern was going to be too big and I wanted it to fit. It fit in a 7-inch hoop. And also I had this in my head that I was gonna put something, once I decided not to do the embroidery, I was gonna put something in a hoop for them and give it to them. But then it had to be a round pattern, right? So I looked for like wedding patterns or love patterns or whatever, but a lot of them were rectangular or they were ovals. And I have oval hoops, but they go widthways. So like the little twisty bit of the hoop would be at the top this way, and all the patterns were lengthways. So I couldn't do those. And I didn't have time to frame anything, so I just kind of went with what would fit the hoop I had. I'm still very happy with it. I think it's a really nice modern looking wedding gift as opposed to some of the older style, like the more traditional looking wedding samplers. So it just said, where there is love, there is life. And then there's a little box to put their names and the date in. And then it was all just like a border of flowers, a circular border of flowers, and then 2 birds, like a male bird and a female bird at the bottom. I'll insert a picture. I don't have it with me, obviously. I gave it away at that wedding. But I'll put in a picture here of what it looked like. So that's what I was frantically stitching right before that wedding. So stupid. And I am such a procrastinator and I know that. But since I'm out of school, I thought I had gotten better with my procrastination because I don't have like homework to do anymore. But nope, still the same. I still procrastinate too much. So that was my wedding gift. And I only had 3 WIPs that I worked on this month. Normally I have 4. I end up with 4, kind of unconsciously. But I'm just about to start another one in August. and some of you know which one that is. So I will have 4, but here are the 3 that I worked on. So the first one is Peacock Pinwheels by Tempting Tangles. And I'm stitching this 1/1. I can't remember how, what kind of progress I had on this when I showed it last time. I didn't work on this too much. I think what's new to you is just this kind of bottom corner here, some more letters and 4 little peacocks and a little symmetrical circle, and then this bottom border. The colors in this pattern are so interesting, and they're in such interesting combinations, I think. Like yeah, these border colors, these look like little Fabergé eggs to me. But I'm into it. I really like this. This is my 1/1 project, obviously, and I'm loving the size it's going to be. So tiny. And yeah, I worked on this at the very beginning of the month, so I feel like I don't have a lot to say about it because I haven't worked on it in so long. But that is Peacock Pinwheels. The second WIP I worked on last month were was my last mini chatelaine, and I totally lost steam on this, and I'll show you why. So I'm at the back stitching portion still. Maybe that was where I was last month, I'm not sure, but there's really, really intricate back stitching in this third mandala, like way more, like such a surprise compared to the other 2, which were mostly just like outlines. This is like a whole thing. So I did a little bit of it, and then I just did not have the patience for it, and I had to put it away. So I still have like my needle and what I was going to use to backstitch, and I just totally didn't make the rest of it. So this is the third mini mandala. And I did all this green backstitching. You can see there's a ton of, like, they look like little green curly cues, and they were really difficult to backstitch. I think because they seemed so random. I mean, there was a pattern to them. The 4 corners are still all symmetrical, but it just seemed like a lot of like half stitches and like weird counting. And so I kind of powered through that green backstitching, and then I started on this black, which is, these are all hanging baskets. Maybe I'll show it this way. So I was putting in these little baskets, and every one of these little sections has to have a basket in it, and I just could not do it. So I'm gonna have to really sit down this month and just like make myself finish it. I think it's really beautiful. I just have this little, just these black hanging baskets to stitch, and then the beads, and then they will be done. So, but yeah, I totally also chickened out on this last month and just put it down. So that is my third mini mandala, almost finished, except for that back stitching. And then the last thing I worked on last month was my August Peridot Fairy by Mirabilia. This is what I ended up working on mostly, I think, because Peacock Pinwheels is 1/1, so really tiny stitches, and that chatelaine, the back stitch, was just killing me, but this was just like regular 2/2 full crosses stitching. So I ended up putting in most of my stitching this month on this one, and that wedding sampler, obviously. But that was less of a recreational choice and more of a homework assignment. So I'll just show you, or else this is going to be kind of confusing. So this is August Peridot Fairy. And last month I think I just had like a black ink blot on the fabric. That was all I had done. So you can see she has these like really pretty butterfly wings. And that is what I worked on this last month. So these are her wings. They're almost done. I wanted to get this done before August, but I didn't do that either. Like I said, tough month, you guys. It's been a tough month. So this is her arm, the little hole where her arm will go. And I just have a little bit of black up here to finish off the wing. This is the little unhappy face that I posted on Instagram, hidden in the wing here, and now I see it every time I look at it. It's going to be so funny. And there's a really interesting color gradient in here. It goes from like deep blue, like almost teal blue, to this really light mint green, and then into these darker greens. And it's a really interesting blend. I am with it up until this light green. I like all these together, and then these greens still seem really stark to me, but that is how the pattern is, and it is a very pretty butterfly wing. And it just dawned on me, there is so much black in this design, and this would have been the perfect design to try out my anchor black on that I bought. It's supposed to be much more full coverage for black stitching, but I said I would finish up all my DMC first, so I will do that, and this will all be stitched with DMC. And that is all I worked on last month. I'm sorry, this is kind of a lame update, but I'm in kind of a lame state of mind. So maybe you can tell that. The pattern I am starting, which I mentioned last month, is the Quaker Game Board by Papillon Creations. Looks like this. I haven't picked any fabric for this yet, and I haven't checked to see if I have all the threads. Well, I'm not sure that I do. It would be great if I did, but who knows. And I'm hoping to maybe start this today if I feel like stitching, which, like I said, I haven't really. But hopefully that will turn around. I'm going to talk to my parents right away. They are in Germany right now, so hopefully that will perk me up a little bit. And other than that, I think that is all the progress I have to share. I do have, I did film a finish video for those Dinky Dye samplers. I filmed it last month and then I forgot about it. So after this video, I'll put that video up. So I do have that one on the way, and there are a couple of other things I want to film. But until then, I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks. Bye.